welcome to the Birth Boot Camp podcast. I'm Holly Hopley, the CEO.
And I'm Megan Busk, the head of marketing.
And today we are really excited to talk to Kayleigh and Randy Searle. Kayleigh is actually a Birth Boot Camp instructor. And so she just had her fourth baby, and we are super excited to hear all about it. Will you guys start by just introducing yourselves, who you are, where you're from, anything you want us to know?
Yeah. So I'm Kayleigh, and like Holly said, I'm a birth boot camp instructor. Love it. This is our fourth baby. So kind of just some background. Our first was a very typical hospital birth. We had an induction and an epidural and all that. Second, we still did a hospital, unmedicated. And then our third was a birthing center. And then this one was a home birth. So we feel like we've had experience in all different environments.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
And I am Dr. Randy. I own Elevated Life Family Chiropractic. So I focus on pregnancy and kids. So it was really good experience to be able to help her with that side of things.
Yep, we live in Shelley, Idaho. We were both born here. We're just existing here in Shelley. We love it. So it's good. It's a nice small town. We've got a wonderful practice, and so it's fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Team.
How did you prepare for your most recent birth? Is there anything you did specifically different than your other births?
So this is the first birth at home. And so and this is our first birth with a doula. It's my fourth baby and the first time we've used a doula. But I would never not use a doula ever again. Like that's just going to be part of, if we have any more, good gracious. So, and it was really wonderful. So that I feel like most of my preparations were mostly physical, right? Like we're having the baby in our own space. So making sure that everything has a place and making sure that everybody knows where everything is and everybody's comfortable. Because we have three, so this is our fourth boy. So our three other kids, we talked to them extensively about, what it is. They've all seen their birth videos. My 6-year-old would watch birth videos with me, like just to make them comfortable with it. My oldest child seemed pretty apprehensive about even wanting to be around when any of this happened. And we wanted to respect that. Like, we don't want to like force anybody to be there. But my other two were like super thrilled. In the end, they all ended up being there. So, and he was
cool.
That's really cool.
So that was a really cool experience for them.
Sorry, I want to interject. How old are they?
I have a 10, 8, and 6-year-old.
Oh, cool.
This guy, who was a complete surprise. So I just feel like most of my preparations were trying to prep my kids. Because it was my fourth kid, I was like, I totally got this. But it's been 6 years since I've had a child. So that was interesting, wondering if it would all come back, like riding a bike again. But because of birth boot camp and being an instructor and stuff, I feel like getting certified in teaching and stuff, I still learned a lot. And just remembering all the things, like when I was in transition, I kind of panicked a little bit, and I even knew what was happening. It's like, because I was like, I can't do this. I was like, he's so close. Like
you knew in your mind, this is coming.
Totally did, but like, your fight or flight kicks in. And so, but everyone was pretty knowledgeable. Like, you're good. He's coming any minute now. But yeah, so I tried to be as physical as much as possible, but most of my pregnancy was in the winter time, because I know Holly in Utah, we had like
tons of snow.
Winter, it feels like, yeah. So I felt like I couldn't like walk or anything, but Yeah, thank you. That was a hard part, I think, was just wanting to be more active, but feeling like I couldn't. But otherwise, like, this was my best pregnancy. It was my first pregnancy under strictly Webster certified chiropractic care. I think having such a huge gap between my children probably helped as well with like my exhaustion and whatnot. But it was really cool. Like, even with it being our fourth child and our fourth pregnancy, like, I still learned a lot and I still had a completely different experience and all that. So
It's amazing.
yeah.
Randy, how about you? What did you do to prepare for the birth?
Oh, what did I do?
Oh my gosh, you guys, we had such a crazy.
It was craziness. So a little bit of background. I dislocated my shoulder, snowmobiling, and tore my labrum in February, and then had surgery the end of March, and we had him end of April. So I was still in recovery from my surgery.
Wow.
And I was technically supposed to be in a sling still, but I was pushing it along pretty quick.
That's like we hired our doula like really soon because I really wanted to have a very specific doula. I wanted to get on her schedule. But in hindsight, like, I'm really glad we had her because
she helped so much, like, especially with me not being able to do everything I wanted to do. But she still allowed, like, she helped me understand what I could still do and got me involved in other ways. And then she kind of took over more of the physical stuff that I wasn't able to do. But like, knowing, we went over like the mile circuit stuff and how I could help with exercises and stretching and things like that. And I mean, for me, having the training to be able to know as far as adjusting and specific things I can do for her that way was really big. But I think having a doula was huge, especially because of the situation we were in.
Yeah. And you had hired her previously, like like before anything happened. So just that's
like
good.
when we first found out we were
We had like back in September, October.
Yeah.
That's like first we got midlife and then we got to do it.
Yeah. So what made you want to hire a doula way back at the beginning of your pregnancy?
Okay, this is gonna sound really silly. I think a little part of it was like, I preach this in my classes and I tell people they should hire a doula, and yet I have like not even had that experience myself. So there's a lot of that. And then because it was my first home birth, like, yes, I'd had a birthing center water birth, but it just like being in your own space. I don't know. I just wanted someone there to like help through all of that and just make sure that I was comfortable. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of preparation I could have done education wise. I feel like that was like almost a vice sometimes, knowing so much. But so I was definitely I knew that I needed more emotional support and feeling safe. And I knew that having the doula would help. And in hindsight, looking back at the birth and everything, it was kind of funny. Like, a couple days after Cannon was born, I was like, I can't, like, everybody has to have a doula. Everybody has to birth this way, which is totally not true. But it was just such a magical experience for us. And like Randy said, like, Alon involved him as much as he was capable of doing, but that also freed him up to be able to involve our kids. And she was super involving with our kids. She would tell them to like, go get a wet rag for your mom, or hold her hand, or like, you can hold her in this spot, you know, like they were really, really involved. Looking back at our birth video, it's just like so cool to me to see how involved they were. And I didn't have to facilitate any of that. Randy didn't have to facilitate a whole lot of that. My mom didn't have to worry about, you know, like, she just made it flow and made everybody feel comfortable. And
she sounds like a great doula.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
that's why we wanted to get on her schedule as soon as possible.
Uh-huh.
He had heard really good things about the teamwork between the midwife that we had and her. Like they were just
That's
so
awesome.
the dream team.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of a few patients that were like, "You're so lucky to have those two." So
That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us kind of all about the big day. How many weeks were you when you went into labor?
Holly, we have no idea. So, because I said he was a surprise, we had been unsuccessful getting pregnant for obviously quite a while.
Mhm.
And I had gone to a doctor because overall I was feeling just really crappy. And we were working on all kinds of stuff health-wise. And so about 9 months later is when we got the positive pregnancy test, and I was shocked. That's a whole fun story in and of itself. But so I had just gone to her office a couple weeks ago to do like a full like women's health exam. We did like a ultrasound and everything to look at my ovaries and everything. And so when I called her and was like, I'm pregnant, like, and based off my menstrual cycle, it was predicting like that I would be like 8 or 9 weeks along. And so she was nervous that it might be ectopic because they didn't see anything in an ultrasound.
Mhm.
We went in for like an emergency ultrasound and everything was fine. So based off of that, they thought I was like 6 weeks
at that point,
pregnant. So, but you know, here towards the end, I feel like I was probably at the like 40-week mark.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we were close to a due date. We were close
Yeah.
to maybe even
But
further.
your dates were never solid just because you're like, I don't know.
yeah, like that first ultrasound, she was at like 39 weeks, but
Mhm.
he came out and the midwife's like, "He's well done."
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
And when we did
Yeah.
our like 20-week ultrasound, I think they shaved off a couple of days. So I mean, like we were pretty much right on the money. But my last
Mhm.
three have been either on time or a little bit over. So I just know
Yeah.
that I go to the point.
Yep. Yep.
So he was really low for a long time. So that kind of made me wonder, like, how far along? Like,
Mhm.
really? And so it was kind of hard at the, you know, just the whole like dates and limitations on midwives and stuff like that is just like really, really hard. And so because we weren't like super solidified, we just went off of that first ultrasound date or
Yeah.
whatever. Technically, I was not quite due, but
Give us more time.
it did. I mean, it
Yep.
was per.
Yep.
Anyways, so I had him on a Sunday, but the Friday before, our kids had a football game. It was like a typical normal day. We met my family at a gelato place, and I remember my brother, you know, asking about how I was feeling, and I was like, if this baby will ever come. And later that night, I was giving myself a really good foot and calf and ankle massage with some oils. And I had the thought, like, just when I was done, to just like sit in a real deep squat. And so I was just like sitting in a deep squat and just kind of chilling there. And I stood up and I was like, there's a gush. And
Nice.
I didn't feel like the physical like pop. I remember with my third, I remember like feeling the pop like it was an actual balloon. But with this one, it was just like, oh, did I just pee?
Right.
You know, I've never really felt that that spontaneous rupture before.
Mhm.
And so I texted my midwife and I was like, theoretically speaking, is this like what's happening? And she was like, it sounds like it. Just kind of like monitor it or whatever. So the more active I was, the more I was like releasing fluid and stuff like that. So we
Yeah.
were pretty sure that my water had broken.
Yeah.
So of course, you know, like my water broke, like, what do we do? And I knew it. So that happened at like 10 o'clock at night, 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
9:30, because I'd come upstairs from putting our other kids to bed, and she's like, I think my water broke. I'm like, what do you mean you think? So it was about 10 o'clock.
Yeah. But since it was so late at night, I just told myself, like, I'm not going to sit up and wait for contractions to start. I'm going to get some sleep.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go to sleep as much as I can. I did have a couple contractions during the night, but I feel like anytime I did, I told myself, not yet. Like, it's sleeping time. It's really
Mhm.
quite fascinating how much power you kind of have over that. And mentally speaking, like, we'll get into that.
Yes.
So, also, while all this was happening, Randy's dad was really sick and in the hospital, and we thought like the worst was going to happen. And so the mental part of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
the water just broke, but I can't even really think about that right now because we've got to go say goodbye and we've got to take
Right.
care of that situation. And so that was crazy. Anyways, so the next morning, I walked a lot and nothing was really happening. Randy started adjusting me, and I would contract after an adjustment and things like that, but they weren't consistent at all. And so, it was a Saturday. We were doing yard work and doing housework and just making sure made sure my bathroom was scrubbed down really, really good. Everything was ready. Keeping in touch with my midwife and all that. Later that night, we had gone to the hospital with his family and just kind of like processed everything. I had a few contractions on the way back from the hospital around the same time, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But again, I just really wanted to rest. We got like really good night's sleep before he was born. So we're really lucky for that.
Mhm.
Sunday morning came, and at that point,
We knew we had that day
basically,
to have that baby.
our midwife was saying like, we're getting towards that like 48-hour mark.
Yeah.
Oh, she had asked me on Saturday if I wanted to do like castor oil or something. And I was like, no, I'll never do that. So Sunday morning comes and still nothing's really happening. So I had breakfast and I castor oil Sunday, and I really, really just wanted to avoid the hospital. I just really wanted my home birth, and I had kind of worked my way out of that environment, and I wanted to keep it that way if at all possible, especially where we were so low risk and everything. So she was basically saying, like, if you don't get contractions starting, then we have to go to the hospital and start that whole like induction process. And then you have like another 48 hours on top of that. And I just knew the, interventions and how they can cascade and stuff like that. So I humbled myself and I just said a prayer, and I just knew that it would be okay. So I did the castor oil. That is nasty, nasty stuff. Obviously use it under the direction of a midwife. But
Then we went down, adjusted.
yeah, Randy was adjusting me like every 15 minutes,
Wow.
just to make sure that everything was good. And so things started picking up. More so just like every 10 minutes or so contractions would come, I think. So it was a Sunday, and I asked my moms to take the kids to church, just to get them out of the house, if anything. Like it was like no time, so I didn't really want
Yeah. Well, and it would give you guys some space too, just to like spend time together and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, let me think.
About 12:30, you were getting pretty consistent, but they weren't strong.
So the kids went to church, and I hopped in the shower, and like kind of instantaneously, they were like 3 to 5 minutes apart. So I started having a couple contractions back to back, and I was like, Randy, can you stay in here and like time them for me? And they were every like 3 to 5 minutes apart. And I was like, dang, it almost happened like that. Like,
Wow.
didn't have that like gradual like time. It was like they're far apart, and it was like 3 to 5 minutes apart. And so
Wow.
I was screenshotting and sending them to my people, and I was like, but I'm fine, everything's fine, we're good. My midwife and photographer were like 45 minutes away. About 1:15, we texted the doula and said, can you come in like 30 minutes? And is probably better from your point of view because I was just in La La Land.
She was in
and
La La
Yep. Yep. You were in labor land.
I'm gonna call, we're good, we have plenty of time, like,
I was like,
no.
like I'm handling these really well. I just think knowing that they were so close together is what kind of did it because I probably wouldn't have thought that they were that close together.
Mhm.
And they weren't really, well, they were ramping up in intensity.
They were.
I was in denial.
She was in denial, and I'm like, we pay for these people to be here. We're not letting them not be here, so I'm
Yep.
texting them and telling them to come.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I've heard that, like, especially if it's like your third, fourth, fifth baby, that the moms are totally like, no, I'm good. And the dads are like, no, like, we need to do something.
Oh, luckily he was on the ball that way. So around the 2 o'clock hour, the kids had gotten home from church. Everybody was kind of, the midwife was there, the doula was there, the photographer was there, my parents were there. So things kind of slowed down a little bit just because like everyone was there. The kids got changed, went to my parents' house. And so at that point, my whole birth team was there. I was eating lunch, like casually, just like eating ramen, not the nasty stuff. It was good ramen. So, and I think everyone was kind of like,
Are you
are
sure?
you sure like this is happening? Anyway, so I'm just kind of chilling. And I remember even saying like, hey, I'm sorry, you guys, like, but I kind of felt like a watched animal a little
Mhm.
bit, I think. And so once my kids were gone, my parents were gone. I finished. Photographer is kind of like doing her own thing. My doula set me up with a birthing ball, and a bunch of pillows around and in between my legs. So I was pretty spread out and just leaning over the ball. And that's when things started getting serious. Because like right before that, our midwife palpated to check his position and listened to his heartbeat and everything. And she was like, he's really low, but he's in this spot. We need to get him over here. I feel like the whole pregnancy, he was kind of just tucked away on the right side of my pelvis. And so
Mhm.
we had to do some, I would assume and say that it was like spinning baby stuff, just to like get him in the optimal position. Okay, so I'm on this birthing ball and I finally give in. We turn on my playlist. It brings me that comfort because I had put together a playlist to listen to. I would put it on before bed when I was like relaxing and stuff. And I felt like it helped me bond with him and it helped me get relaxed. So my brain knew it was okay to relax at that point because I had my relaxing music on and I started crying. And I was like, it's time. Like, we're getting so close. So that was around 2:30-ish. Doula was doing hip squeezes and stuff during all the contractions and whatnot. And then I was like, we need to switch positions. My feet are falling asleep. Like, let's do something different. So we went into my bedroom, onto the bed, and we did some side lying positions with pillows in between. So like my leg was like really propped up to just really open it up. And contractions were coming really consistently. And I remember starting to shake really badly. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is actually happening. And I remember telling Randy, like, I'm scared. Like, I'm really scared to do this. But I had such an amazing team. Just between everybody. Like, I don't remember really a ton of it except just being in that moment. So when I go back and watch like the footage and stuff, I'm like, holy cow, I was so supported, like not even realizing how much they were really helping me get through these things. So that was around 3-ish. And Randy was texting my mom because when I started shaking, I was like, all right, like we need to get the boys over here if they want to come. So he was texting my mom, telling the boys to come over. So
It's 3:45.
yeah, they got there around 3:45 or so. Around 4 o'clock, my noises changed during my contractions. And the midwife was like, you need to get in the tub. And there was even at one point where we switched back up to the birthing ball but it was on my bed this time. And I remember one contraction just feeling like a change. I don't know if he shifted or whatnot, but I was like, it's time. And I like got off the bed and I'm like taking off my clothes and I like getting into the tub. And yeah, so that was around maybe 4:30-ish when I finally got in the tub. And I was trying to figure out like what position I wanted to be in that way. I was trying to squat. It didn't feel right. And I remember like going onto my back and being like, is this even okay? Is this what they do? And they tell you not to do this. Will he come out if I'm like laying down? And she's like, you're fine. Ultimately, I birthed on my side. And so I was on my side in the tub. And the midwife had one of my legs for me to push against, her hand, but also just keep me like really wide open. And during transition, I got really panicky and I really beat myself up for that after the fact because, like you knew what was happening. Like, why couldn't you handle that better? But because like active labor started at 2 and I had him at 4:38, like my labor was really fast. And I feel like my brain and body were like, what is happening? And so, I did get, we have to go to the hospital and I have to get an epidural. Like it was all just nonsense speak. It was nothing that like I knew that I really wanted. So it was just kind of like really nice to have Randy there be like a voice of reason.
I was like, it's so close. Like you've been through this before. She's like, no, I haven't. Yes, you were here last time. He's right here. And then having the doula and the midwife also like back me up and be like, Kayleigh,
you're doing it.
You're doing it. He's here. He's coming. You're a rock star. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, I was really fighting against the contractions. When they would come, I would just get like, please don't come. I'm not ready. But you just have to start bearing down and push. And so I remember pushing a couple times. And then I had like one really good push. And I put my hand down there because I was trying to figure out like, where's he at? Like, where, like, is his head close or whatever? So I feel like I had like one good push and his head came out. And then
you were trying to grab him and she was like, not yet.
She's like, you have to push him out first. I'm like, yeah. So then I pushed again and he came out and it was just really, really cool to have my kids there. I just, pulled him up out of the water. He was pretty blue. And so I wasn't really nervous about that though, because I know that babies are like, they don't come out very pink anyways. And so, we're just kind of like rubbing on him. My midwife was really calm. Did you adjust him in the tub at that point?
Yeah, I adjusted him because the placenta was birthed like really soon after.
Really soon after, like it was within 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so while she was just holding him, rubbing him, like I let the midwife check and do what she needed to do to make sure everything was good. And then I immediately, pretty much after that, just adjusted his neck. And like going back on the pictures, you can tell the moment the adjustment happened because his face started
peeking up. Isn't that so cool? Like he was doing really good. So like
you were in the tub for a little bit and
not very long. Like
yeah,
I handed him off to Randy. Because of the castor oil, we had to clean up a little bit. And just get everything rinsed off. My son, my middle son, I feel like had the like biggest connection to this guy. Like he was just, even while I was pregnant, was just they just felt very connected. So he cut the cord and he was like so
Cute.
proud. He was so excited.
Mhm.
Like when you go back and look at the pictures, I had asked him to come up on the bed with me to hold the birthing ball in place so that I could like just chill. And he was like so
All
excited. He's
excited.
like holding that. Like he was just so thrilled to be a part of it.
Love that.
My oldest did end up being there. He was a very passive observer. We gave him a GoPro. That was his job.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And then
The youngest, like after while she was holding him in the tub, he like came up and was like, I'm so proud of you, Mom.
like
Aw.
you guys, it was just so sweet. And for weeks after, my youngest was like, Mom, I'm so proud of you for having him.
Cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So everything happened really fast. I feel like happened really fast.
Yeah, no, that sounds fast to me.
Once the contraction started, it was just very like go, 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 go.
Mhm.
But it was just really nice to climb into my bed and to be there for a couple weeks,
Mhm.
or, you know, like a couple days. Like we didn't really have to do anything, but it was really cool. The midwife and the doula continued to involve my kids even in the recovery process. And they got to like look at the placenta and she told them all about it. And, you know, like mommy has a big owie in her body now. So you guys have to be really helpful and,
Mhm.
you know, things like that. My doula was like feeding me pineapple while I'm nursing this baby. And I'm like, this is the life. Like just chilling here with my little baby and I'm getting like fed food and people are making sure that I'm comfortable. And it was really cool. So when he came out, yeah, like there wasn't a whole lot of like vernix on him, maybe a little bit. Not my kids really don't have much because they come so late. So
Mhm.
and when she was doing her vitals and everything on him, she was like, this is an old man baby. A good gestational or mature gestational age or something like that is what she said. So
Mhm.
we definitely think that I was at or over.
Mhm. Yeah.
He was 8'14"
Wow.
and 21 and a half inches. I had no tearing. I didn't even have to use a peri bottle. Like,
Wow.
That's
no.
amazing.
Anyways, everything was real. Like this pregnancy and delivery, while it was a little intense, like it was really good and really healing. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have
Yeah.
any questions?
No, I mean, I think you gave us like the lowdown on on
Yeah.
everything, anything I could think of.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just really funny because I had told myself like, I want to have him during the daytime so that there's really good lighting for all the pictures. And so like having him at 4:30 in the afternoon was like the cherry on top. Like
Perfect.
and then we just like ended our day and we just like went to bed and I don't know. It was really, really cool. Just a really, really cool experience. I don't know. I wanted to share my story everywhere. I just
Yeah.
want everybody to have regardless of where you birth, I want them to have a very empowering and peaceful experience with birth because it is so transformational. And then all the like postpartum stuff, man, that was fun.
Mhm.
Overall the birth and everything was really, really good. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think our culture is definitely lacking like good birth stories. And so that's why we're doing a whole bunch of episodes full of them so that more people can hear them and hear what birth really is like and not what TV shows us.
yeah, I know it was funny. Like when my water broke being like, no, Kayleigh, like it's fine. We gave our bathroom a really good scrub down just in case, but then we went to bed and we
Yep.
just let things happen. And, you know, it wasn't until everyone was gone and everything is peaceful that I finally mentally was like, okay, like we can do this. Like it's time. And then it happened really fast. So
Yep.
his name is Canon, and it's not because of the birth, but I just joke around like he shot out like he
Yep.
came really fast.
His name just has double meaning.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, for sure. Yep.
That's awesome. Do you have anything you would add, Randy?
Not really. No, I think covered everything.
Yeah.
What an incredible story.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me share it. Like I said, I could talk about it forever, but it was really, really cool. And like, God willing, I'll have all my babies at home now. So
Yeah. That's pretty much what we tend to hear is everybody's like, once they do it once, they don't, they don't want to go anywhere else to have their baby.
yeah.
So
Yeah, there's not, I don't know, in our area, there is one birthing center, but for us, it was like 30 or so minutes away. And yeah, that's really your only option outside of a hospital or home. So we decided on home. Our home was comfortable. We had the space. We had people close to us. So that's why we ultimately decided on home.
yeah.
Which was just, you know, all the comments you get when you tell people that you're going to have your baby at home.
Right. Yep.
Can you ever do that? Like, this is my fourth. I've done unmedicated before. Like, we can totally do it. So I'm proud of all the mamas that do it their first time around.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
unknown.
And I feel like that number is increasing too, which is interesting. So
It is super interesting.
yeah.
So, and I find that a lot of people are wanting like to be more educated and like the comprehensive ins and outs of all the things, and wanting to be like super prepared. I think like for me, the reason that I even went into like childbirth education is because I felt like I was gypped my first time around and I didn't want anybody else to experience that. So, yeah, first time around was kind of just like, I know everything, we're good. But at the same time, like your brain is separate from, you know, the educator side of things and the like intuitive mother side of things. So.
Yeah. You kind of have to, your brain can't do both at the same time. It's kind of funny.
Definitely. Like, it doesn't matter how much you know when you go through it yourself. It's like all that goes out the window, which was even more of a reason to have a doula, because she's like, remember, you know this, but we're going to remind you and help you through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said it earlier, you're kind of in like a fog, a labor fog. And you're really focusing on only one thing. So makes sense.
Yep. I do remember at some point being like, are the boys okay? Are the boys okay? Like, are they okay? Like seeing all this. And because I was a little bit panicky, a lot panicky, I'm like, are they okay? That like mom is freaking out right now, but they were like, they were fine. They just thought it was so cool that like any of this was even happening. And so just having my whole family be there was just so stinking cool. And I better hope that these boys are phenomenal dads because they and they are like patient and kind and all the things. So
yeah, they'll have this to like be able to say, like, not many kids can say that like they saw their sibling be born or anything like that. And I really think, you know, it's like you said, you feel like they've bonded a lot because of it and stuff. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see the older siblings with him, like having that connection. They were able to witness, you know, everything. So
yeah, that's really awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. This was so fun I've been like waiting to hear more about how your birth went. So yeah, this was great.
I haven't been very forthcoming about it. It was, like I said, it was a very like almost like sacred experience for me and very healing. And so, and I also feel like because of that, you know, just sharing it in the right spaces and stuff. So like wanting to be able to like, especially like this platform where we're trying to have people hear more birth stories, positive birth stories and things like that, and not have the comment.
Yep.
So, yeah. Thank you for letting us share it for sure.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys.
Too.
Yeah.
Tell us what your company name is and how we can find you. Website, Instagram, all of that stuff.
Elevated Life Family Chiropractic is our business. We're located in Shelley,
Idaho.
Website is elevatedlifefc.com. And then all of our social medias at Elevated Life FC.
And they can find links to like birth boot camp and stuff off of our website. It does direct them to mine.
What's yours?
Kind of a mouthful. So it's kinda crunchy Kayleigh.com.
I like it.
I do too. Love it.
Yeah, I have like the birthing classes and everything on there and how they can find birth boot camp and but also like all the kind of crunchy things. So that's fun.
Yep. Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right. To our listeners, if we have any listeners that would like to share their birth stories with us, feel free to send us a message because we are always happy to talk about them. And be sure that you guys subscribe and stay tuned.